something this morning, Father, that will allow us to help someone else, Father. Touch each and every one of us during this pandemic. Touch the word, Father, that will come forth today. We thank you, we love you, and we lift you, and it's in the name of Jesus that we pray. Amen. Amen. Good morning, and welcome to the Rowlett Friendship Baptist Church, Church for Real. I am your host, Reverend Edison. Reverend Smith, good morning.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Sir. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How'd the pantry go yesterday?
Pantry went as normal. It's kind of busy, but it was a successful day. It was a very productive day.
Still feeding?
Yeah, we actually ran out of food.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, that's a good thing. That's actually a good thing. Pastor? Hey.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Glad to be back. And, Smith surprised me yesterday. We had an additional 7 seniors we delivered to yesterday. So usually there were about 6 or 7 seniors. Yesterday was 14, and we still have 2 more to deliver on Wednesday. So,
okay.
And it's going to be a total of 18. So I think Smith's trying to load me down.
Rising up. We're rising up. Rising up.
Time out before the podcast.
Wow. Well, we glad you're back. You look refreshed. We hope the break was good for you. Hope you and the wife was all good, and you're back ready for another 12 months of service. All right.
He
didn't respond at all to that.
You don't get to take off anymore.
All right. Again, this week we bring back Deacon Antoine.
Hello.
What's your last name, boy? Deacon Robinson is back with Robertson is back with us this week. Welcome back, Deacon.
Thank you.
We're glad that you're back. We're gonna go back in.
Feel like I'm about to get in trouble.
No. You ain't gonna get in trouble. We decided that we didn't give the tithing enough last week, so we're gonna touch it again this morning. We got a few things we need to clear up, a few questions we left on the table that we're gonna answer. We briefed Pastor last Sunday, so he gonna clear up all of this.
I know he was at the house.
Yeah, I know he was answering.
It's just like a pastor want to come in and talk about money.
Right. But
I was actually driving to church, listening to it, and I couldn't call in like I wanted to call in. But you guys handle it. I just wanted to take some time to dig into some.
Okay. Before we dig into our topic this week, which is still tithing, but I want y'all to understand that we are still talking about worship. The last 3 weeks we have been in worship. Tithing is just a part of worship. All right, Pastor, I'm going to go to you first this morning because we left a question on the table last week. Does the New Testament address tithing?
And I want to clarify this. Tithing, the word tithing means a tenth. So anytime you deal with tithing, you're dealing from an Old Testament standard. And I want to put this point here, and Robson's good to have here to do this. We always look at the Old Testament and New Testament. That which one we use, which one you don't use. The New Testament did not come to destroy the Old Testament, but Christ said, I didn't come to destroy, I came to fulfill it. And so I want to think about this. The New Testament is an upgrade to the Old Testament.
Right.
Anytime you upgrade, you don't get rid of the old stuff. You just build upon it. And so when it upgrades, you get what? More benefits, but with more benefits is more sacrifice.
Right.
So when you think about that, Christ came to fulfill it. So Christ came to upgrade. So let's look at this point. Christ came to be the one last sacrifice. So therefore, we don't take the sacrifices of old. We use Christ as the sufficient sacrifice. And every time we talk about worship, we talk about communion.
Right.
And every time we do that, what we do, we remember his sacrifice. So in other words, we are sacrificing again what Christ has done. So when it comes to tithing, the New Testament does not even talk about tithing. There's a couple of references where Paul and even I think Christ referred back to the word tithing as in the sense of Old Testament.
Right.
But nothing in the New Church talk about tithing. It talks about
Giving.
And this giving is based upon we are no longer under law, right? We agree that we're under what? We're under what? Grace. So grace is the ability to do above and beyond what was in the Old Testament.
Right.
So every time you see giving in the New Testament, do not refer to tithing because tithing is limited to a tenth. Where he says give. And then when we get into this topic this morning, we'll talk about giving. So when you talk about tithing, no, there's no reference to the church tithing, but it's reference to them giving. And so when we start limited to some And again, you have to pray about what percentage of that giving you want to
Right.
give to the Lord. So that's the piece where
I
we
agree
live.
with
And so if you want a baseline, my baseline has always been 10%. Why? Because in the Old Testament,
That's
that
where
was
it
a
started.
baseline.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking. I'm not teaching that you do 10% now.
Good.
But I'm saying the 10% is a baseline. If you want a baseline, so as a new Christian, once you start in my giving, well, because you haven't fully understand grace yet, you should start as the baseline as 10. But as you learn about grace and faith grows, you shouldn't still be at 10% if you've been living with God for the last. I'm not saying you got to go up to being 100%, but he does talk about sacrificial giving. There should be a systematic and sacrificial giving. That's what the New Testament talks about. So it does not destroy the Old Testament, but think about
Just enhance.
It's an upgrade.
Right.
Anytime you upgrade, I look at this also. I was talking about this last night. We upgrading cars. We didn't destroy what the car was. The car still had 4 wheels, an engine in the front, an engine in the back, one in the front, and all we did was do upgrade. We added doors,
Features.
we added windows, we
Yeah.
added hood, we added windshield wipers. Each time it was an upgrade. You never got rid of what was old. You just built upon it. And Christ says, "I come that you might have life, not only life, but life more abundantly." And if he gives us abundant life, and we are Christians,
Right.
should not giving be the
Giving
same
be
as
the same.
he gave us?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
that was a long.
But
No,
we
that's a good
we wanted to clear that up because there was more than just one question last week about the New Testament and the tithing. So in to make sure that I understand what you're saying, it is no longer tithing, it's giving. Giving. Okay, and the scriptures that back up what you're saying is 2 Corinthians 9, 6 through 10, and Matthew 23 and 23.
Well, 2 Corinthians 8, 2 and 3, 2 Corinthians. I mean, it's so many
Right.
that talks about giving and not just tithe. That's why people, if you ever do a study in tithes and you just do the word tithe, it does appear in the New Testament, but only as a reference to what
Right,
they did
exactly,
in the
exactly,
Old Testament.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
so should that mean that at this point we should change the name, stop calling it tithing? I mean, that's always been a thing to me because I always felt like when we moved into the New Testament, we should no longer be saying tithing. We should. You got a lot of churches, and I'm just saying, like the mega churches,
tithes
now,
and offerings.
The mega churches, they use the word donations.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, I think, like I said last week, that steers a lot of people away because, let me just say, if I am a halfway educated Christian, and I'm sitting in your congregation, and you know, you get up and say, "Hey, man, you know, it's time for tithing, yada yada," then is it possible I could halfway think you don't know what you're talking about if you're still using that term?
See, and that's why.
That could very easily be interpreted that way.
And really, the only time I say tithe is out of habit when I say pay your tithes and offerings. So I have a habit of saying that, but you hear me talk about giving a lot because in our mind we've said that word so long. Tithe and offering goes synonymous with one another.
But you really gonna say that all the time. You always really say it's time for the offering.
Right.
And that's one thing that I'm good with that here at this church. You always say, well, it's time for the offering. It's time for the offering. As I said the other day. But there is still, I remember, and then tithing, this is a little bit off, but I remember when I was a little bit younger going to church, and I would be sitting with, you know, either my grandparents or somebody else who was at a visiting church, and then the pastor would come up and he'd say, and I'm asking you a question, he'd say, it's time for the tithing, and then she like, put your money up, you know, because we don't go to this church, so we don't give our tithes here.
But no, that's a good. I see where you're going there, and in actuality, she was right.
So that's why I will be careful with that term, even now.
Yeah.
Because if you're using that term and you got folk who think like that, you know, they may not give. You know, a lot of people are already looking for reasons not to give.
That's what I'm saying. What I don't want to destroy the word is because if I'm truly giving a tenth, I'm tithing.
Right.
Now, that's the piece that why I say that you should not be tithing as you get to know the Lord better. And you hear me say that you should be going to a point where it's about grace I'm giving, not based upon a set number. And so it's very difficult because a tithe is a tenth. And if you're giving a tenth, or you're saying, well, God, put it this way, what if God said, I'm going to give you a tenth?
Yeah.
What if Christ, if we're Christian, I was telling you, we're called Christians because we're Christ-like.
Right.
Christ only gave a tenth.
Right.
But the Bible tells us
That'd be scary.
that it tells us that nothing that we could give will amount to Christ's sacrifice.
Yes.
You know that, you know.
Great.
But there's a lot of people who are looking for something to go off of because we're in the we're in times where people need to be kind of told what to do. That's where we are. So they're all looking for something to go
Go
on.
ahead, sir.
I think last podcast, that's one of the reasons why I brought up that we need to actually have people that actually have to, kind of teach on this.
Yeah.
Because when you start getting into the New and the Old Testament and the laws and all that, it's easy for somebody to get confused. I think what you have to understand, because we could go into, I know Pastor's going to know what I'm talking, you probably, in types and shadows, everybody knows we can go into that. But the New Testament is really just the promises of the Old Testament being fulfilled.
Right.
And every time it comes up, about money, people, they want to use that as a discussion. But when you talk about the Ten Commandments, it was written in the Old Testament, but nobody says, let's do away with the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
Because it's just the Old Testament, the New Testament is the Old Testament being fulfilled of the promises.
Right.
So nobody talks about, have you ever heard somebody say, the Ten Commandments in the Old Testament, so we shouldn't,
because the Ten Commandments was under the law, wasn't it?
We're taught here, but I'm saying for anybody else that's listening, we can't really cover this in an hour to really make people understand. We're just scratching the surface of what it is.
And what you just said, it's a great argument about this podcast I was listening to was saying that we can't pick and choose of the Old Testament we want to deal with.
Right.
Because what the law says, what the Ten Commandments says, if you do these things, then you're bound to the circumstances of those Ten Commandments.
Right.
Christ says, now I'm taking it to another level.
Right.
You're no longer punished based upon those things. I come to fulfill it. Because I'm the fulfillment of it, your belief in me gives you grace to overcome those things. And so those don't go away, because if you do, you'll have an unlawful society. But what he says that we'll no longer hold to those bounds. See, Christ didn't unbound you to bound you back up to law. Christ didn't unbound you to bound you back up to death. So that's not coming. You're not bound to 10%. Christ doesn't want you to be bound to 10%. You're not bound to that. Well, if you have faith in Christ, he says, Paul says, I press towards the mark of a higher call. That means that I stopped doing the stuff that I used to do to be better in Christ, because Christ gives me the freedom to bust out of those chains that kept me in bondage. Not just my spiritual change, but my physical change also. And so, please wait. We can't be so proud. People are trying to use giving as profit. That look at me. Look at what I did. You shouldn't give based upon that. You shouldn't give based upon did I guilt you into paying your tithes. Right. You shouldn't pay your tithe because because it says that if I give, God give back to you no measure. So I'm gonna give all I can so I can get more. That's greed. So we start looking at the different things that we got gimmicks. Well, if you send your money in, I'm gonna give you this. We have all these ways of getting people to give, and none of those should work. It says that based upon grace.
Yeah.
And the piece I want to say, he says this later on. He says a cheerful giver. But before that verse, he says that we should give as God has given to us. But what I love about this, and we don't look at it this way, when he was talking about churches giving, even during their most difficult times, giving of themselves even more so. So God calls us to be sacrificial. If you say that every 2 weeks I give my 13, 14%, but at some point, shouldn't you be sacrificial and give 50%?
At some point.
At some point, I'm not saying I do it all the time, but there should be some point that I give up, because God doesn't own just the 10%. He owns a whole 100% of it. We keep saying, well, I give God my 10%. No, he knows I give you 90. He says, as I have given to you, give unto others. And it's just not to the church. See, tithe was tied to the storehouse so that there'll be meat in my house. Giving says, it's not just to the church. The giving part, what I want y'all to go back and study, when you see the word giving, he says give to ministry, give to people, give to those who are in need. So we think because we give to the church, that ends all. No, that's to give to the church, give to those who need, give to ministries in need, giving all those things. So giving is just not to the church. That you gave your 13, 14, 15, your 20% to the church, you think you're done. No. And you pass by hungry people in your neighborhood need stuff, and you don't do that, he even going to charge that against you also. And so this is why tithe is not taught in the New Testament.
Right.
It's taught giving. Giving is.
Okay. I want to give you this scripture, Pastor, because it just taps right into what you were just saying. 2 Corinthians 9:7. It says, "Every man according to his own, every man according as he is purposed in his heart. So let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver."
We say that all the time.
Yeah, God loveth a cheerful giver. Okay, well, why does God love a cheerful giver? Yeah. Why should we be cheerful when we give?
Because God likewise
Some people may want to know that.
has given to us.
Right.
God gave to us, and He gave abundantly to us. And we forget that God does it openly and willingness to just give to us. And so likewise, to regurgitate that back to Him that says that, what if God gave it to us and started saying, I'm tired of giving y'all.
Right.
Go ahead, Rob. I'm gonna.
Well, I just think, and also, when you're cheerful about doing something that's from the heart, that means that's what you want to do. Nothing is the same when you're doing something you don't want to do, even if you accomplish the task.
Exactly.
If I do something for a person and I'm mad about doing it, I really didn't want to do it anyway.
Yeah, shouldn't have done
it. So that compassion is not there, and I don't think that if we're giving to God and we're giving just because this is what we're supposed to do to get it out the way, your blessing is not the same, and it doesn't mean the same to God. It's not truly an offering. You know, you now at this point you feeling it's lawful and you bind it and you're doing it just because. And so I don't think that that God will see that the same.
I'm sure He won't.
Because some people do. Go ahead, Spill.
I think that there's a verse that says He will give seed to the sower. And when I realize that everything that I have and everything that I got, God gave it to me
Anyway.
And so I ought to be happy to give back to
Some
Him.
of that, yeah.
That's why He said He'll give seed to the sower. And so I'm happy to give because God keeps blessing me over and over and over again. That's nothing for me to be mad about. Now, if I'm greedy, then I'm like, oh God, I'm not doing it out of my heart.
Right.
I'm going because I want something.
I'm doing it because I want something
trying to
back.
get it, yeah.
No, I want more.
Yeah, because they're gonna treat tithes like you shooting dice.
Yeah.
Like you doing something. Okay, God, I'm giving you my 10. Now I'm supposed to get this much back. And that's the only reason that they're giving. That's giving out of order. I think that you should be happy because God has given to you.
So that's a responsibility from the church too. Then, if you think about it, because you have a lot of people who give in abundance to churches for special treatment in the church.
Right.
And you see that all
that's
the time.
facts.
You know, you got some churches where folk have their own seats, you know, based on what they give. Front row, this is you get to walk in and that's your spot all the time because of the amount you give, or special treatment from these ministers and pastors because they know that this is a giver and we got to treat them a certain way.
That's a dysfunctional.
I agree. I agree.
That's the other part of it. People are tithing for power.
Yeah.
Right.
It's power.
Yeah.
And so I've heard people say as well, if you don't do this, I'm going to take my tithe somewhere else.
Yeah.
And people keep people in church because of tithe.
Yeah.
I don't ever want anybody to stay. I'm not going to ever beg anybody to stay. I'm not going to everybody. If you're going to leave, you leave because that's between you and the Lord. I'm not going to be saying, well, we're going to make this special spot for you. No, I ain't going to make no special spot for you because you tithe. I mean, I want you to, don't get me wrong, I keep saying tithe. I want you to give, but giving does not supersede anything else.
I have actually been in a church.
Oh yeah, me too, Smith.
And actually seen this at work.
Don't say they told
Deacon
somebody to get up.
Robinson.
Don't say
me.
Don't say they told
Me,
somebody
Rob.
to get up.
How'd that happen to me?
I've actually been in there, and there was a situation, and we were trying to do something, and the person was there, and they were on the board, and so what he wanted to do was totally wrong. I had the pastor pull me to the side and said, "Hold on, let's leave him alone,
Because we don't want to lose that money.
because if we make him mad, him and his whole family
Oh wow.
will leave."
Oh wow.
And we don't want to miss the tide.
Watch this.
They give and help us keep things going. And that's an actual situation.
I'm going to give y'all actual.
Man, that is heavy.
I'm going to give y'all actual scripture where you cannot use that as spiritual influence. Acts 8:18-24.
Yep.
It talks about
Yep.
trying to use their spiritual, their financial wealth to dictate spiritual welfare. And James 2:1-9 also talks about that should be any power play going on because of where you stand financially. And that's what we'll get, to be honest, and me and Amber had this conversation, that's a lot of mega churches are doing that.
A lot.
Oh,
of
yeah.
them. A lot of them.
Because you have grown to a spot that, man, I hate to say this, well, I need that giving.
Gotta have it.
So I gotta balance what I say. I tell you guys, I tell the deacons, I tell everybody, if I get to the point where I'm balancing spirituality with anything else, it's time for me to move on. Because I'm missing the mark. And again, that might cause us not to be able to where we need to go be at.
Right.
But I'd rather rely on God and God's spiritual gifts, and we make note by note. We go note by note in church, then have a big church with givers. Then I got to compromise the spiritual teaching. And again, I have to be careful because I do attack a lot from this standpoint because I'm not afraid to attack. And my wife said sometimes I gotta look here. You can attack so much, I'm gonna come after you. Well,
Watch out.
But that happens, Robert.
But I think
that happens.
That's
And
real.
either
That's
it's a big church, or else it's a smaller
Smaller
church,
church,
that they don't have that much funds coming in, and they're
Yeah.
counting and say, now if they leave,
Yeah.
then it's gonna be hard for us
Yeah.
to keep the lights on.
I already know. I actually know churches like that.
Yeah.
They look here. We gonna keep him as even though he's still on our board. He's still this. He can still tell us how, because he sent his tithes in every 2 months. That little change. Let that change help us out. And so,
But you
and
know,
so we cannot-
I have actually had situations to where I was visiting a church. I ain't gonna call the name, but y'all know it.
Call it.
And
You'll get him in trouble.
and they had these sections.
Man.
The $100, the $500, and you know me. And pretty much anything I do, I get there early.
Yeah.
I show up, and I picked the seat that I thought was best for my view.
Wrong seat.
Okay, first I had this one usher to come. I said, "Sir, we need you to move. You're in the wrong section." I said, "Oh, who? The choir or somebody? You know, this is a special section." You know, I'm thinking, I am so far away from what she's thinking that so I just kind of blew her off, and went on. A few minutes later, 3 of them came back. Like, okay, if you don't get up on your own this time, you don't get up on your own. And I said, so what section is this? She this is the $500 section.
My goodness.
Yeah, this is the $500.
What happened if you had just pulled out a $500 on a check and then
You never even find. You never
She didn't
even
know what you got.
You didn't even. You don't. You're judging
it's
me.
reserved.
But see,
Yeah.
that's pride, because people come in late and go there and say,
I would have just said, well, where's the $1,000 section back on the stack?
Yeah. No, what I did was they said, you can more than welcome to go up to the balcony.
But
I said, y'all don't even know me.
but see, that's why we gotta be careful
Yeah.
with the idea of I heard somebody say says that God never intended to be that a person who makes $200,000, it doesn't hurt them to be a $20,000. They don't. But a man that makes $10,000 got 5 people in the household. In that $2,000, it never meant to be so barren on either or. So he said that's why it's the giving. God, when the old lady gave her 1 cent, and
It meant more.
It meant more because she sacrificed more.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't want anybody to get caught up into the tithing. And Sister Smith asked a question about, and Elijah had a great question and point, but Sister Smith says that it gets so confusing in what are we giving? And that's what I'm saying. I want to give into tithes, because I think Edison used this idea that you can give tithing in your talent and your time, talent, and treasure.
Right.
And when you start thinking about that, but isn't that if you're giving your time, that's 2 hours and 40 minutes a day to the Lord. Are we really doing that?
But that's more to be done around the church than just on the Sunday. That's what
exactly.
No, what I'm trying to say is that if we are all saying that we're going to limit it to 10%,
You chop it up.
it
runs out.
None of us are doing 2 hours and 40 minutes a day with the Lord. I mean, in
Nobody.
our mind, I mean, truly giving. So he says, when I start talking about this, the giving part, both time, talent, and your treasure, you're giving gracefully to God. Whatever that is, Lord, I'm giving this time to you. So there's no set limit. Because then we put ourselves, again,
Put ourselves back in the box.
God did not free us
Right.
out of bondage of sin and the law to put us back into another box. He says, who Christ has set free is free indeed. So he says now it's a heart thing. It's a relationship. Christ says, I came not for rules and regulation religion. I came for a relationship. Christ never said, I came for religion.
Right,
He said,
right.
He talked to all the religious leaders. He said, I came for relationship.
Yeah.
And if I want to answer everybody's question, if you have the right relationship with somebody, your giving is not because you love your spouse, you're not limited to what.
That's right.
Even if she gives you a $10 gift, you're not limited to $10. You give and my wife, it drives her crazy because it says, after you give to everybody, because why? Because I just like, and so you're not limited to it. And so the big part about the New Testament is that it's about giving. Based upon your heart relationship with God.
And then you got to be careful, too, because you don't, like we had said last week, we were talking about, well, the question came in is how do you deal with somebody if you know they're not doing right, and how do you approach it? But you have to be careful because if you're speaking on that level and saying there are so many different ways we could give, you don't know what a person is doing outside of what you see. Because it's not just limited to what they're giving in the church. They could be helping somebody out here. They could be at this church. You could spread your giving around. Nobody tells you have to put everything you have into this church. And I'll tell you, and I'll say this, when I used to go to my grandfather's church way back in the day, at the end of I don't know, I can't remember if it was the month or the year. I don't think it was the year. They would give out the annual report. No, actually, it was a month. They would give out the report, and you could see everybody's name on there and what they gave. And you had people in competition on giving.
Oh yeah. You know why they stopped doing that? Because people got their feelings hurt. Because people should be giving.
But they didn't care though, because they wanted those one that was competing.
You do that at the Day's church.
You ain't gonna have nobody.
Look at we so soft.
That is when my uncle was sick before he passed away. I was there in the hospital, and there was a nurse. She was really taking a lot of patience with him, and so I started talking to her, and just by how she was acting, I knew she had to, be a Christian. So I asked her, I said, what church do you go to? She said, well, I used to go to this, she told me the name of the church. I said, well, what happened? She said, well, they got outrageous. Said that they got up and said that each member needed to turn in they tax, the W-2.
No, stop.
So they could find out how much that you made. And they said they needed to be there so they can look at the W-2s to be sure that you're giving what you're supposed to be giving.
To monitor your giving.
Because we're getting ready to move to a new church. And she said, I let them move without me.
Because this is as a pastor of this church. In church, most of my life, I think it was 4 years of my life that I wasn't in church, and that was 4.5 years from the military. I was in and out of church. But for being my church most of my life, I saw that, and I struggled with the idea that I don't want to beat people over the head about tithing, but I want to preach so much so about how much a relationship is with Christ that it goes beyond that you are, you're not just, putting money into the church, but at work you're putting money aside to go to the NCAA. What is
NCAA.
Yeah, you go on all these different things, or you put it to go to United Hands, or you're doing more than just in church, or you just says, hey, I hit my 10% this month, I'm done.
That's it.
You should do a whole session on that, like you do on others. I mean, the people. It's what people got to hear, and I know you try to stay away from it, but if people are going to be educated,
I agree with you
teach it.
because it's obvious that there are.
I'm talking about a Sunday session.
No, but it's obvious that there is confusion about this tithes and giving. Hold what you got. Hold what you got. Okay. We coming up to our break. Oh my God! Great discussion this morning.
I want to know what Smith would do if somebody walked up to him and said you got to give an extra 300. Because we looked at your records and you're 300 short.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do.
We'll be back. We'll be back, y'all.
I'll tell you.
Cliff, when they walk up.
love their giving with the RFBC Emergency Food Pantry every second and fourth weekend. Volunteer hours are Fridays from 12 to 2 p.m. for unloading and 5 to 8 p.m. for sorting and packaging, as well as Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. for distribution and registration. If you know of anyone that might need help, please ask them to complete the form on our website on the Friday before by 7 p.m. Join us for our interactive Bible study every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. Tune in for a great discussion. If you have Facebook, please host a watch party of our Sunday service. We also have in-person service for those able to attend. Don't forget, online giving is available for tithes and offering using debit, credit, or e-check. Go to www.rowlettfriendship.com under Give. Thank you so much for listening in this far. We love that you are here with us at Church for Real. Do us a solid and tap the thumbs up button on wherever you're getting this feed from. And please subscribe so you don't fall behind on the weekly content we'll be delivering from right here at Rowlett Friendship Baptist Church.
All right, welcome back, man. Y'all should have been listening to us during the 2 minutes. We didn't let this go. But Deacon Robinson, you brought up a point, and I hope this brings back up what you were trying to say, because I didn't want to miss that. But these churches that the pastor is standing in the pulpit and pulling out charts and checking zip codes and checking average income, it seems that these are the churches.
Yeah.
Come on.
They got money.
They got money. They're thriving.
They're thriving.
They're thriving.
So why wouldn't the pastor do that?
And see that now. I know what he would say.
Yeah,
It's such a difficult responsibility on the church, because here you are asking for an upright preacher who has a true relationship with God and who is solely after his heart and trying to teach the word. But then his church is struggling. Then you got, folk on this end who they love the Lord, but at the same time, they want to make their church grow. They want to have the best youth organization. They want to have the spotlights and this, that, and the third. And so they preaching about this money. And folk you'll realize if you go to a mega church, people are not as opposed to hearing about money as you think they are. They'll gripe about it, but they're still giving.
They're still giving.
And so now what do you say to this little preacher over here who preaching his lungs out? You got to tell him his reward is in heaven, because right here while he's grinding it out, this church over here now they just bought another lot.
Yeah.
Now they're going to build on this over here.
Building apartment complex, living facility.
And so now you know that these churches are part of the issue, because you still got to, how you give your statistics of how many people are unsaved in every neighborhood.
Right.
Now you still got all these people who, that's that side of folk that you want to capture, but they looking at these mega churches and like, man, I see what they're doing. I don't want no part of that. So what do you do as a pastor? You give in, because here you are now. He can't stop working because we ain't got enough money to come in. When old boy over here is popping off tithing every day.
I would like to hear the different answers on that, because I have a friend and he pastors actually 2 churches.
Okay.
Which that's very difficult to do. And I went down to preach for him, and we were sitting and we were having a hard-field talk, just like you were talking about, Robinson. And he said to me, man, what am I doing that's wrong? He said, because I go out, I help people. He said there have been people that came to me, their mortgage was behind, and I took money out of my own pocket to pay for them. They called me when their sons and daughters were on drugs. I went and got them into the place. He said, and my church seems to be stagnant. He said, but he named the preacher. He said, down the road, he make them give. When they come, he won't even, if it's something simple, he'll just tell them, you got to use your faith, daughter. You got to use your faith, son. And they're busting open at the seams. And so that was a real hard question for me, because I can't give him a little churchy answer, because he's a good pastor. He's there. He's doing things.
About what he asked
now he has a problem with the members, and some of his members left and went over to the
mega church
where they talking money.
And they talking money where they wouldn't deal with him. they start giving with them.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Because it becomes this, and I hate to say it, it becomes this gimmick. We think of gimmicks as being, oh man, if you send us $5, we're gonna send you a prayer cloth. If we do this, all this, and what people start to think is thinking that, man, they'll bust up at the seam. So let me, because people will give if they can get something back out of it.
Yeah.
So when they're giving, and I'm not saying, don't think this is an answer for every prosperous church, every doing that. But you think what the mindset says that, man, they must be doing something right for me to go there. Those pastors, what was the preachers of LA, that garbage was on TV, and people, that was garbage. But that was garbage being sold. And so therefore, people started saying, well, I'm doing the same thing. No, just because something is prosperous does not mean that's the right place to be. That Christ says there'll be more of a struggle. You realize there's more churches that are under 100 people in the nation than it is for those over 100 people. Most churches are consistent. Anything over 150 is considered a large church. At one point, we had, anything over 100. At one point, Rowlett Friendship Baptist Church, what we had on the road, was considered a large church. At any time that we were in this ministry, did we ever think it was a large church? So I want to tell you that the line, so there's more people who are serving 50 people and 60 people in the nation than there's people serving 100 people. And when I say it's that many, there are only, I think it was like maybe 2,000 churches in the nation, in America, 2,000 churches in America that were over 500 people. There were close to 25,000 that were under 100. And so when I say that, it says that we might think it is a misnomer that people are being prosperous. And I would tell him, it says that this is a labor. There's plenty out there, but it's few of us. And so us few have to do a lot with the little that we have.
Do you think that with the larger churches, it's because they want to be attached to the name?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I'm gonna tell you. I don't. You want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you what I think it is.
Go for it.
It's just like a new apartment or a new house. People want to be what a luxury is.
Yeah.
And if it's luxury over here, I can hide in luxury and be comfortable in luxury. So when you get in these smaller churches, folk will expect you to praise and worship. They expect you to actually get up. You can see everybody in the church. But if I'm in this larger environment, they got super nice chairs and 20 or 30 rows that I can just kind of dip in and dip out. People will pay for amenities. You will pay for them in your car. You will pay for them in your house. And pastors have figured out that, look, I'm going to preach, but at the same time, I know I can sell a nice environment. I can sell a big room for this, a big room for that. All of these luxuries that people have grown to love, they want it.
Yeah.
And if I put that out there, they'll give.
And it's
because
good,
it works.
And it's good until stuff starts breaking down.
And watch this. What you just said was a given.
No, right, you're right.
Because you got a lot of people, and I've heard this. Well, I'm gonna go here. I won't say the name of the church. I'm gonna go down here in South Dallas because I can go there. I can hide. I don't look here. I don't have to give as much. I don't have to be noticed.
Yeah.
And I can. And this is a minister who told me this.
Yeah.
That I go there because I can just fit in. I can get in. I can go
sneak in and sneak out.
I go in 1 of the 3 services, and I only have to be. But you're a minister, and you call yourself a preacher. And I told him, I said, he says, well, this is what I'm comfortable doing. So again, there's nobody at this church. I was at another church when it was going on. So it just kind of blew my mind. It says that, and this is why the tithe thing is so critical. Is that my goal is to get you to have a relationship. If you can't have a relationship, because we still selfish people, we still selfish. So if I get you to do a relationship, and you're right, I said this when y'all started this last week. I left the church I was at. We went to a different service. When I left them, the whole drive home, I kept on saying, I got to spend some time just on this topic because a larger question was, and I lost it. He was saying that some people are mixed up with the Old Testament. Christ actually came during the Old Testament time. You really realize that?
Right.
He came and walked the Old Testament. Not till he left did the New Testament come. So the New Testament he had to walk through Old Testament and actually give us the New Testament, which was an upgrade. Not, I hate to call it old and new. It should have been Testament 1, Testament 2, a continuation or upgrade. We have to say old and new. We get rid of the old and then forget that it's just an upgrade of it. And so Elijah's right. It says that the idea of this idea is that really the freedom that we have in Christ gives us the bounds to do what we need to do based upon our, put this way, if my heart and all I have to give to the Lord, and because I did some bad investment, I did some other stuff, and then I came to the Lord, so I'm confounded by my bad decisions. Christ did not put me back in bondage. Says, well, based upon you got bad decisions, you got all this stuff caught up, and watch this, because this is what time will get you. Now, listen, if before I came to Christ, I did all this stuff, and I got myself in a bad financial situation, then now 90% of me, 95% of my stuff is just for survival. If I use a tithe analogy, that when I came to Christ, if I'm still with the tithe, then I cannot honestly do that because I'm in bound. Christ says, no, give as I have given to you, give it cheerful giver. That now I said, well, because of my bad decision, now that I'm saved in Christ, I can only give 5%, but I give it cheerfully. Lord, here's my 5%, and I give it every week. Lord, here's my. You think God's worried about your tent?
Right.
He says do that, because then once I start fixing this stuff out, because what I believe do, because I give to God, God start working out my issues.
See, that's a Sunday message to me right there.
Then my debt started to lose out. Oh God, you've been so good to me. Now that when I was tied up here, I'm free to now to sacrificially give. I can get 30%, and I can still be happy with everything.
I can get with that, but what I can't get with is when people. This is the way that they teach it. If you don't give a 10%, that's why God let your tithes
Watch out!
blow
Now,
out.
watch out now.
Because that's why you can't hardly pay your rent, because that's God taking back.
He gonna get
his
it somewhere.
money,
But doesn't it work?
But
it works.
Doesn't it work? Because when you go home, you're thinking about it.
This is what happened. I was in church. They were giving some stuff. We come out of the Pentecostal deal. So I came in and I told my mama, "Oh, mama, I'm saved." But they had played a video called "The Burning Hell," and in the video they had men with maggots burning, and they was in hell, and they was like, shoving it. And they said, "This is gonna go on forever." So when I went back to talk to my mom, and I was happy, my mom said, "Go on, boy. We'll talk about you later." Another lady said, "Why you didn't encourage you?"
Yeah.
She said, "Hold on." She pulled me to the side and she says, "I want you to know God because you love God, not because you're scared."
You're scared.
Oh.
And that's
Because
right.
what's going to happen
that's the guilt
when
part.
the scare wear off?
Right.
And it will.
When I stop
So don't let
feeling guilty.
nobody scare you into anything.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, saying, okay, look, hey, if I don't give, my tire's going to go out.
Yeah.
If I don't give, I can hardly pay my rent. That's a tactic, and it's a gimmick, like he said. Pastor McKinney, nobody explains it just like you explain
And that's
it.
what I said. That should have been a Sunday sermon right there. That right there has got to be one of the ones where you touch base. Because when folks, you got to understand the way you delivered that. It was a teaching, and then it was compassion also inside of that says, man, do this with purpose.
Right.
Do this because you know what the Lord has done for you.
But watch this, Rob, and I'm going to cut you off because you're right. But isn't that part of all of our sin nature?
But that's why they need the constant refueling. That's what you always say. That's what the church is, a service station on Sunday. They got to be reminded every week.
Okay, guys.
Because guess what? When you get that whole, like you said a minute ago, when the person came with all this baggage, and then God delivered you, and now it's time for you to, now that you have, you give a little bit more back. Right then and now, that's when the devil comes in and says, "Hey man, you good now? You don't need to do all that."
Okay, now based on what we've been saying about the thugs in the church and the scare tactic. Sister Smith said thugs. I like that word.
I like she said the church got coffee shop.
Yeah.
Church got
I like
coffee
that.
shopping,
But okay. Are we living on the premises that my giving says something about me?
Yeah, a lot of us are.
Yeah.
But should it?
I feel. Let me tell you something. I do. I mean, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I do. And now I'm not saying that it says something about me as far as the way y'all look at me. I'm saying it says something about me as far as the way God looks at me.
The relationship.
And when I say giving, I'm not talking about how much money I chunk
Yeah.
out.
Right, right.
I'm talking about my behavior. I'm talking about my character, as in, how I approach people who are in need, or when I see somebody down, or if I can help out here, or if I can help out there, how I spread my time.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all of that.
Right.
Your giving says it says a lot about you because you give to things that you love. You know,
Your heart is where your
yeah,
treasure
you
is.
give the things that you love because I love my wife and I have a personal relationship.
You give her
to me,
anything.
Whenever she asks for something, if I got it, it's hers.
Watch this, but you don't even have to ask for it. See, this, and Robert, this is where I miss it.
Sometimes you can see the need, can't you?
I want to preach Jesus so much that it becomes. This is why I say, when you see a person who is in life in prison for the rest of their life,
Yeah.
for making mistakes that killed people, multiple people, come to a better relationship with Christ and people who are free, that tells me that he has a full understanding that he came to Christ with some stuff, but Christ wiped that stuff away. And regardless of where you are now, he still gives you freely and cheerfully. That you're right. I missed the point with, and again, I know this because I beat myself up all last Sunday with this idea, all Sunday evening. I beat myself up with this is the fact that people have to understand that tithe puts you in the bound. Giving opens up Christ in you.
Yeah.
Whenever
I
we
like
start
that.
putting out, because if you're going to use the tithe, well, you might say that you got to hold up to all of the Ten Commandments. Because Christ, he says that you got to do all these things. And he says, after the guy says, I can do all those things, he says, well, give everything you got and follow after me. You can probably do some stationary stuff, but when you really want to give up and be with Christ, so give everything that you own and follow him. And again, that comes with the whole idea of giving. And so, yeah, we got to do a better point of saying, even if it's just once a quarter or once something, saying that, hey, this is what, get out of the mindset of tithing. Get in the mindset because God has freely given to you, well, you freely give it to him back. And don't put yourself in that bound because, to be honest, most people around can give more than 10%. Most people around can give more time to, people give Christ Sunday morning. And Sunday morning's become an issue because now we really don't give them Sunday morning because we at home.
Yeah.
Now, some people got to be at home. I don't want to throw stone, but when we get past this whole pandemic, a fourth of the people not coming to church because it's convenient. Convenient. Comfortable. Christ didn't come to make us comfortable or convenient. But we want to say, I'm staying home. Man, I don't have to put no makeup on. I don't have to put no stockings on. I ain't got, the first way to come out church, you never do none of that.
You can have to do that anyway, did you? But Pastor, we have created this. It was a necessity that we created because of the pandemic. But we have created a situation that I really can't see how we're going to pull from. Like you was talking about that 25% or that 35%, people are just flat not going to come back simply because it's convenient.
I think it's going to be you guys that do that. It comes because if you're at home watching, I'm not just at home watching, I'm at home listening.
Right.
And the message that you are sending is what I'm latching on to. And so when you have that platform, and I know I'm not a preacher, so I don't know how the Spirit meets you and what the Spirit gives you to say, what, when, and where. I don't know how that works. But in my mindset, like Smith said last week, I'm analytics, I'm a thinker. In my mindset, if I'm watching at home, even if I'm just putting on my little show for the hour that y'all on so I can get to my day, that hour, you have my attention.
Okay.
And you got to decide what you're going to do with that hour. Because that message that you sending me right there, it has possibility to make me turn the corner left or right. And if you are allowing me or pushing, and I hate to say this because I know you try to leave that platform open for everybody to be like, you can worship from anywhere. See, I listen to Pastor Bruce a lot, and this is what he does. And I'm not saying this is a mistake. I'm just saying he preaches, you could join in the church. We just want you to be saved. You could watch, at home, as long as you get the word. You could, and that goes away from all of the mega churches and everything they saying. Get your butt in here, and we need your money, and yada yada.
Yeah.
If I think that when you deliver that message, it has to be delivered in a way that first tells me that my presence is necessary. It should be here. First and foremost. Don't allow me to feel like I can completely get comfortable being at home and it's all good. I don't know how that works, Smith.
And it's a balancing because you truly have people who cannot come.
Exactly.
Like I know, and you know, we have members here who have immune system issues and have family members
Right.
who. So I don't know if y'all remember. I had to catch myself. This is probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I was really hammering about this, and the next time I came back, I was a little softer because they are truly people. I don't want them to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to put them in bondage by them thinking that they. But those who, and I said this before, those who can be here should be here.
Yeah. Right.
Those who are allowed to be here, and that's why I came to the very next Sunday. I kind of married those together because the ones that I was hitting, and I was challenging those to be here. Then I had to go back and say, okay, I don't want a person with a compromised immune system or have people around them that compromised to come here and then they feel guilty for being here.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to guilt somebody.
But not
you're
that,
right.
but not that, because you're
gotta
right.
be balanced.
Yeah, everybody understands that piece. We know if you got issues, don't be here. But I'm saying that I'm talking about in those
Healthy
other
rescue.
instances where you can say that we got folk who the church could use you here.
Yeah.
In the way that you deliver it,
Wednesday-
the church could use you.
Wednesday night, I said that I kind of was doing Wednesday night because I stepped in because 2 people were going to be out. So I stepped in, and I ended up by saying relationship. Christ did not, and I want to keep saying this. Rules and regulation is religion. Christ didn't come for rules and regulation.
Right.
He fought against rules and regulation. He came to have a relationship. And we, part of this whole idea that I can have church anywhere will be a new rule of our bounds. No, he says do not forsake the assembly. Not the viewing. Not the viewing. And people are saying, well, we have to adjust to the, and maybe I'm going to be the person that my last month, people keep saying, you got to adjust to the new norm. People not coming, so you got to adjust to them. And I said, if video stuff was the end all be all, Christ would have came when it was time for videos.
All right.
Right.
He didn't come when it was time for video.
Right.
If video is the end all be all, he came with what? So people to gather around
Right.
him.
Right.
And what you said, Deacon Robinson, about comfort. Do you actually know that some of the largest growing churches are the churches that are having what they call cell church?
Okay.
So I don't want to call the name out. It's a guy, he has a bunch of members, and what he does is that he has the internet church that he does. So people come on the internet, and that's one cell, and then that's what's so they don't have to be at church. They just stay there, and they can be in their pajamas, and they can do that. And so he grows his church off of these cell members, and they never come in to actually meet. They just do everything online.
Yeah.
And he's growing. It was hard for me.
Wow.
I feel what you're saying.
To understand it, but I think it goes back to being comfortable.
Yeah.
But the Bible does say, "Forget not the assembly."
Yeah.
And nothing is never as good as it is live.
That's
That's
right.
true. That's true.
Right.
And it
That's
never
right.
will.
You wouldn't buy a concert ticket to see your favorite person and sit at home and watch them online and pop your
I
own.
wouldn't do that
No.
because I want
You got
the
to be there.
experience.
You got to be there.
Yeah.
You got
I
to be
want the
there.
experience of being there. When things go, I want to be there. So when everybody holler, I want to holler.
Yeah.
It ain't the same if I buy the ticket and then I
That's
just
right.
sit at home and
That's
look
right.
at it.
watch
And
it
what
on
you said
video.
earlier about the brand, some folk want the brand too. Because I know some folk who done told me they done been in some of these potter houses where they all packed in there and the screen come down and the dude preaching on screen from somewhere. Now, if
Right.
you can pack a church and somebody preaching on screen and you got thousands of people in the audience, I mean, good God.
Okay,
Come
now,
on.
when we get to that point, I'm live in Jamaica, just preaching for Jamaica. No, I just, again, the idea.
And I don't want to knock. I don't want to knock
Pastor,
the hustle.
I'm going with you.
I don't.
I'm going with
Well,
you.
look, I think it's safe to say these 4 at least be there. I'm not,
Wow, yeah.
I got to make sure everything is set up.
Yeah. I like what you just said. You don't want to knock the hustle, but
I don't want to knock the
No,
hustle,
but-
because ain't that what everything is?
Sister Young said something, and we might do. She asked about research. When we first researched this, and we did a lot of research coming into the church. A reason a lot of people don't come to church, they have been turned off by church.
Yeah.
Because what
Yeah.
comes from the pulpit is not what meets their needs. And so, if those who've been here for 5 years, I have tried to teach strictly by what the Bible says, life application. That's what changes people. And the people who need to hear that sometimes don't hear because they hear all the hoopla from the pulpit. And I don't mind saying that it's a lot of hoopla in the community. It's a lot of fairy tale stories coming from the pulpit. It's a lot of things that sounds good, but when the rubber meets the road, it's not good for you. And so I try to get people to the word. And so a lot of people, I think it was like 40% of the people, stopped believing in what the church stood for because what was in the pulpit. And so another percent of that just did, I think 33% of people and I think in the area just never had a relationship with Christ, didn't grow up with it, didn't have it, and rely on their money. So we know that's about 65-70% of that. And the other people are already in church, going to a church, and religious go to a church. But I've learned this also that people go to First Baptist because we always went to First Baptist.
Right. Yeah.
My mama, my dad, all those, and I went to Second Baptist. We've always gone to this church. So you have the traditional, let's keep friendship. People go to that church regardless of how they feel. They're going to go to that church. By their friendship, people are going to go to that church regardless of what they feel like. So you have a segment of people that go to church because that's what, we've been for 5 years. I can't say you always, but people just go. Mount Corinth Baptist Church in Shreveport, Louisiana, we've always went to this church. I went to this church. Everybody went, so we always go to this church. So a lot of people just going through the motion with tradition. And Edison, you was in class with me. We was taking the people were going, I don't get anything from this church. I just go to. I was ever real. This lady said, every time I preach, she would come visit our church. She said, I get a lot from you. I said, why you go to that church? Well, I've always gone there, but I don't get nothing from the pastor. We just go because
that's what we've done.
It's a habit. Big Mama went there, so I go there. It's my uncle was the deacon there, so that's why I go. So
there's people who like to just visit churches, and I'm just gonna just be.
Man.
I preached at Crossroads, and this lady, she says. She goes to church in Richardson, but she goes. I think she got a 4-church rotation.
What?
She goes. She goes for my church is in Richardson. But I go 4-church rotation. She says, "I'm gonna come there. Where your church is located?" I said, "We located here. I'm gonna come visit. That's right for the pandemic hit." But she said, "Well, I love your preach. I'm gonna come visit you." And she just rotate. Now her church is here, but she just rotates.
That's what I told my wife though. I said,
rolling Christian. I like that.
If we ever leave this church, I said we're not gonna be members of any other church. We're just gonna.
Why would they preference in your mind?
I'm just saying that's what I come. Okay, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Then I can tell you right, and then watch this. I'm not afraid to touch on it. Hold on.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I'm not afraid to touch on it. Look, because I'm telling you like this. If you sit up and you watch folk church hop all the time, I ain't got no problem talking about it. Church hop, when something ain't right, when this is that, when this and that, and they church hop, and they church hop, and they church hop, and they do this. And all I'm saying is and I'm not saying our church was this, that, and the third, but I'm saying if something was to happen where this church couldn't go on, I wouldn't go and be a member of another church. I'm not a church hopper, but I wouldn't go and be a member of another church. I would be done with that, and we're just going to visit churches, and we're going to evangelize. And
all I'm trying to say is that this is not a church ran solely by the pastor.
No, I agree with that.
This church is heavily sent.
I agree with
a
that.
Pastor as an under shepherd, but we rely on our leadership to be influential in a way that we move forward, so that if there's a problem, we come together collectively to resolve the issue. Now, if you cannot come collectively to resolve the issue, because it's not a church based upon your feelings.
Yeah.
It's about us collectively moving forward. It ain't based upon,
he almost made me strike up a whole nother topic right there.
I want the choir stand to be orange. Now we gonna
y'all can blame me for cranking that up.
That's a whole
other thing.
You gotta watch Robinson. He'll throw stuff in there. You start a whole nother
and it's my last week on here. I can go and get it crumbled.
But you know what?
My thing was that
he gonna get another text on Wednesday. You started, so you better look at you be a guest next week.
Because it ain't with your way, and now you somewhere.
I was just sitting there. I just can't believe that I just heard you say that you was gonna forsake the assembly.
Oh, I'm not gonna forsake the assembly. Like I didn't say I was
gonna be a rolling Christian. You gonna be a rolling Christian.
Go around, checking it out, checking it. I'm finna watch it. I'm finna do like Sister Smith said. I'm finna go over here and order me a white chocolate mocha from the coffee shop.
Y'all know what? You know what they used to call it back when I was growing up.
They did. I had a sermon already left. I've been practicing. Now I have to come with a whole nother sermon this day. Mess with y'all this morning.
When you growing up, when I was growing up, it was a lot of food, right? And so if you just start picking from this one and this one and this one, and you just start eating a whole lot of food, you get what they call the colic. So if you're a rolling Christian, you might end up with the colic. You might not know what.
I'm gonna go back and check with the lady that Pastor was talking about, and I'm gonna ask her, have you ever had the colic?
No. She done threw up and
Oh my God! Oh Lord have mercy. Hey, watch this. Better yet, I can just go and check the roster and make a couple calls and ask if some people got the colic, and I'll find out like that.
The fine is you don't know when you got it. You don't know until you catch it.
Let me on this. The idea of tithe and giving, they are two separate things.
Right.
There's
right.
a tithe, which is a tenth of everything, and then there's giving.
Yeah.
The New Testament does not address tithing, it addressed giving.
Right.
The tithe was a concept of giving that was placed in the Old Testament that was then upgraded through what Christ did for us in the midst of our life that we freely give.
Amen.
And there's no set amount. But if I was to tell you where you start at, start with what the tenth does and grow from there.
And then
that's all aspect of your life. That's
all right.
talent,
We've had a great discussion today. We ran out of time. Oh my God, it was good today. Thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming back, Deacon Robinson. We will see you in 30 minutes for our in-person service. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.
All right.